Welcome to PartsWatch Training. In this lesson, we'll be looking at exporting your daily sales totals to the General Journal in your accounting package, instead of running the reports on PartsWatch and manually typing the totals into your GL. And since all of the detail is always available on PartsWatch for reporting, if you need it, totals only are sent in the export. So let's start with setup. From the menu, select Controls, Store, Store Info, and click the GL Export tab, and hit F5 or click Edit. GL prefix is the name the export file begins with, so you can find the file after the export. If I were multi-store, I might name it GL Store 1 to identify the file per store, or Daily Export for single store, or just enter GL so you know it's the General Ledger export file. After the prefix, the system adds the date of the export, then the time, in 24-hour format, so each export name is unique. Next, click the Export Directory button and select where the export file will be copied to. I made a new file off my C drive, so all my exports will be kept in one place. But it could go to a thumb drive or any place on your local PC. The GL type field determines whether the export will be output as a .csv file that can be opened in Excel or a .iif file for QuickBooks. Check the Auto Export to GL with End of Day field, and the GL file will automatically be exported when the day is manually closed from the Day Cash Close screen. Now, this is important. GL export is only automatically initiated by the system when the end of day close is run manually. If the end of day close runs automatically, the GL export will not be automatically initiated regardless of the value of this field. Either way, this allows your end of day process to be one step instead of two. So once you're comfortable that the exported totals are correct, you have the option to let the system run the export for you. Now, if you're multi-store, while we're in the Store Information screen, under the Store Information tab is the company code field that's used to identify each store for the QuickBooks export. The system puts the value of this field in the class code field in the export file, so QuickBooks knows which store the transaction totals are coming from. So enter your store number or name, whatever is needed for your GL, in this field, and if it's left blank, the class code in the export file will also be blank. Now, the next thing to do is to link your GL accounts to your PartsWatch transaction totals. But before we do, I want to give you several rules that will affect your GL. So let's go to the main account entry screen. And this is important, so listen carefully. If you're multi-store and the account type is transfer, which should be set up with the account control of no AR, only the transfer cost of goods and the inventory transaction types will be included in the GL export. And the same with store use, which should also be set up as no AR. Only the store use cost of goods and the inventory transactions will be included in the export. For all other account types, if the account control is set to no AR, only the no AR cost of goods and inventory transaction types will be sent to the GL. Now, anytime an account is set to no AR, it could potentially cause the exported debit and credit totals to be unbalanced, since we always include the cash tendered, but we do not include the sales for no AR accounts. Okay, now we can go to the Control System GL Account Code screen to link your GL account names or numbers with the transaction totals that will be exported from PartsWatch. There are too many sales totals to define here, but basically the sales totals can be found on the Invoice Journal, AR Transactions, and Cash Drawer reports. So a quick look at the journal to see a couple. Here, sales are the cash and charge goods totals from the journal. Total returns are the net returns. Here's labor, freight, cost of goods, and so on. And if you hit F1 from the GL account code screen, Help now opens to the Screen Help, and there's even a chart showing every transaction total and where it's taken from. Now, if you're a multi-store and all stores use the same GL accounts, check the All Stores button, and the accounts entered here will be used by all stores. You don't have to go in each store to enter them. But if each store has different accounts, uncheck the field and go to each store and set up the GL accounts per store. And we already talked about the company code on the store info screen, so make sure each store is identified for the export. Now, in order to make sure you link the right GL account to the right transaction total in this screen, print the worksheet from F1 Help and fill in each of your GL account names or numbers next to the applicable transaction total on the worksheet. And once you're sure you have it right, then enter your accounts in the GL account field. And this goes without saying, but make sure you enter the GL accounts exactly the same as they are in your accounting package, so the totals will import without a problem. Okay, now the only thing left is the export. So from the menu, close out GL Export. This screen is used to manually initiate the GL Export file. If the end of day close is normally manually performed daily, the GL Export file contents will match the close period. Should the end of day close be performed for periods other than single days, for example, a store is closed only once a week, the GL Export file will sum the transaction totals across the days, so a single value will be exported for each transaction total in one file. If separate files are needed to each represent a single day, then the end of day close must be performed each day. If you can't run a close for any reason, under Closeout's end of period, set the daily queue to run automatically each night, and then import each day's file to your ledger manually. So, assuming you're manually exporting the file, the last export date shows the date and time that the GL file was last exported. The export date shows a list of each end-of-day close within the past 6 months, with the most recent displayed at the top. The drop-down always lists the last 6 months' worth of closes, and exporting a date will not remove it from the list. This way, if the exported file is accidentally deleted or not found for any reason before importing into the accounting package, it's available for re-export. If the same export date is again re-exported, the earlier file is overwritten without any indication that the file already existed in the designated directory. The export is done per location. The location field defaults to the current location. So if multi-store permissions are available, then enter a location or select a single location and the screen fields are reset to match the data specific to that store. With a single date selected for export, click Display to see the totals that will be exported, or click the Preview or Print buttons to output the totals as a report. The export values are summed up for both the debits and credits, and normally they should be the same. If they're not equal, the difference is shown at the bottom in the difference field. There's a couple reasons why they wouldn't balance. First, check the GL accounts linked to the PartsWatch totals to make sure they're all correct. And if you remember we discussed this, you may have accounts other than transfer or store use set to no AR. Anyway, the export will complete even if the transactions don't balance. So correct the accounts in PartsWatch or offset the totals in your GL. And click the Export button to initiate the selected file export. If multiple files exist, each can be exported separately, or select All Since Last Export to export all days since the last time the export was run. If there are no new closed files found, the system prompts that no export files were created. And then, as soon as the export button is clicked, the program will create the file. When successfully completed, a prompt will open indicating that the export is complete. If the export fails for any reason, a prompt displays to contact customer support. And let's take a quick look at the export file before we finish. And let's go to my C drive, and here it is, saved as a .cvs. And let's open it in Excel. And this is what it looks like saved in a .iif format. And now the only thing left for you to do is to go to your accounting package and import the files. Once successfully imported, since the files are now automatically removed from the directory, be sure to manually delete the imported files so there's no chance of re-importing them. And we're done. If you have questions and don't find the answers in F1 Help, please contact customer support for assistance. And thanks for joining us.